Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Brittany Jennings coming to you live from the Seniors Blue Book. And this morning, I am actually outside of Santa's sleigh. As you can see, I'm one of his reindeer.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to go out here in a couple days and lead the sleigh with Santa and deliver all the gifts around town. Just saying.
Love it. And Mr. and Mrs. Claus are like making sure that you're behaving yourself, essentially.
Usually they let me slip, they let me kind of act up a little bit. So
right.
Exactly. But I am
the reindeer game.
I'm super excited to be here with you guys this morning. Everybody knows your faces. That's why I almost forgot to introduce you there for a moment. But besides being two wonderful elves, Santa's over there, especially Mark with that hat. I'm here with Mark and Elli Baldwin with Sunways Assisted Living Concierge. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yes.
Happy
You look very festive and ready and excited for the holiday.
Yes.
We are.
We're gearing up. It's that time. The countdown is on.
It's a little hectic, but it wouldn't be the holidays unless it was hectic.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. How has this year's Christmas been different from last year's because of the year we've had? Like in your guys' family personally?
I say hectic, but in reality, it's been less hectic because we don't have a bunch of family here, which stinks. But the house is a lot quieter. It'll be a smaller dinner. But good, it'll give us time to really focus on just being just the four of us and enjoying the holiday with just the four of us. So,
yeah.
So we're blessed for sure.
We have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, so we are in prime time Christmas spirit over here.
It'll be fun.
And so, it'll be nice to, especially this year, just not have a lot of distractions going on, which is typical, like Mark was saying. So trying to find the silver linings like we've been doing all year.
Like obviously 2020 has been tough, but we've had a lot of good things happen for us personally and professionally. So we have tons to be grateful for as well. So
absolutely. And I notice like every time I nod my head to agree with you, my little antlers start shaking.
I know, and the bell over here is right. It's like
every time the bell rings, Sunways gets a placement.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
That could be a thing.
Love it. Let's do it.
So let's real quick, before we jump into the topic today that you guys are going to be talking on, which is so important, we're going to be talking about 4 ways to decrease caregiver stress during a holiday. Because we still have, of course, Christmas, we have New Year's, and this is such a time where people could use some advice, some tips. But tell us about Sunways. If somebody's tuning in and they have not heard of you in the area here, tell us what you do.
For me to go or you?
I can start. You can chime in. We are a senior living concierge. So at the core of what we do, we are a senior placement company. That's how we monetize. But we are more of a concierge. We like to think of ourselves as kind of like a project manager, right? Our caregivers come to us at different times in the journey, if you will, and we like to help them connect the dots, whether it's finding senior resources,
support
elder
groups,
care
elder
attorneys,
care
et cetera, whatever their need is at that time, we kind of help project manage that. And then if it moves into, them needing a senior housing community, obviously that's, where we come in as well, where we specialize.
So in-home healthcare, communities and everything in between. So kind of the go-to resource, if there's questions about senior care or senior resources, we will get them in touch with the right people that are vetted, most importantly, so that they can stay away from Google.
And the thing is, when that phone rings, whatever the issue is on the other end, we provide help, provide a solution. And if we can't, we put them in touch with someone who can.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this year, I mean, more than ever, people have needed resources, especially like you, because you're a sounding board. You're a therapist for these, for your clients that call you, for the family members. They're relying on you. A lot of them live out of town. They can't travel here. So their parent lives here, or parents.
Right.
And so you guys, and again, to explain too with placement, because I obviously came from that world too, is that you're helping families at no cost to them. Yeah. And so it's one of those things, why not give you guys a call and talk through what are my options? The communities, because you have also clients that have moved into them.
Yeah.
Right.
So not only on paper through ACA, obviously you do your research there for families, but also you've got firsthand experience with your clients and the experiences that they're having at the communities. You know,
Right.
the latest things on COVID. I mean, you're keeping up to date on everything.
No,
So
yeah, especially with the COVID piece, we found that that's been super important because, as we know, touring and visitation has been kind of up and down on how much they're allowing that. So the fact that we can say, we've walked those halls,
Right.
we know that staff, we know what the
Literally.
residents look like, we have firsthand feedback beyond just a website. And if nothing else, I mean, a lot of what our job has been this year is just educating, if nothing else, just a 20, 30-minute phone call of saying, hey, listen, this is what your home care options are. This is what Medicare is going to cover. This is what it will not. If you need more care, this is what these different levels of communities are. This is what it's going to cost. So even if they are a week, a month, a year away from making those decisions, they're at least armed with the info, because I think we can all agree that 90% of the anxiety, stress, and indecision just comes from lack of information. Nobody knows where the first step is, so nobody
Right.
takes a step. And that's when, they're waiting for the crisis or the shoe to drop, and they're forced to do it. So we're really just trying to get ahead of the game, and if nothing else, arm them with the information so that they're ready when they need to make a call.
And sometimes it's just something as little as providing them, our checklist of 20 questions to ask when touring a community, because, we're not, for the most part, allowed in the communities. I mean, here and there at this point, but at least we can arm them with the right questions, have the right answers, and then they actually can come out of the tour knowing that they've got, the answers they need to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely. And I want to point out with Sunways that you guys have taken kind of this step towards really shining a light on the caregivers and providing not only resources, but information education through your blog, which is where today, again, we're going to talk about the 4 tips to decrease holiday stress as a caregiver.
Yes.
But you guys, that is something very unique to what you do. You have this heavy focus on the caregiver, which is so important, and it's so special because caregivers work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's a never ending, circumstance that they're in. So let's jump into just some of those tips during the holidays, because for any normal person, it's a stressful time anyways, whether it's a family dynamic or whatever it might be, cooking dinner for people, there's definitely stress around it. But as a caregiver, there's a different type of stress. And so let's talk about, and we'll start off with focusing on new traditions. So tell us a little bit about what you guys would advise people on for this topic.
The first thing that always comes to my head is hosting Christmas dinner, or hosting, say, Christmas Eve dinner. We think it's a good idea to maybe have another family member or another friend host that dinner. Take that stress off of yourself as the caregiver.
Right.
A lot of families have traditions of, going to the same restaurant, etc.
For a
maybe,
certain meal.
Maybe get takeout, maybe order it and bring it home, or maybe go to a new restaurant. We found a lot of those can help, relieve that type of caregiver stress, especially during the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, I mean, I think this goes along for everyone, not just caregivers, but caregivers especially. It's the holidays shine such a light on what isn't the same, right? Because our routines are different, our limitations are different. So even though every day we're reminded of those changes, when you have traditions and you're really holding tight to those traditions, it becomes very emotional when you can't do it. So it's really just trying to
create new ones.
Yeah, create new ones that you're still excited about, but that fit into the realities. Because at the end of the day, it's not worth the stress that it creates, So it's just trying to get creative and working with other family members and people involved to try to make something work so that it isn't so stressful.
Right.
Exactly. And the next one will be to simplify.
Yes. So also that I feel like if anything, 2020 has taught us to simplify, right? But one of the examples that we used in the blog was even the idea of buying gifts for everyone. Maybe instead this year you work with family and decide that you're going to do a Secret Santa, and everybody picks a name this year instead of everybody having to buy gifts for each individual person. Maybe instead of having 2 or 3 Christmas trees or something along those lines, it's just 1. You scale back a little bit on the decorations. Again, you make sure that you have enough of those traditions to make you feel comfortable and happy and all of those things, but understanding that it doesn't have to be the 100%,
Right.
and just trying to simplify
I think
it.
a lot of times you go overboard just trying to keep up with your traditions, and then it turns out to be more stressful than what it's really worth.
Yeah, than the value of it, for sure.
Exactly. Especially, I mean, we keep bringing it up, but I think it's notable to bring up is 2020. I mean, this year alone has brought how much, increased stress. So like you said, simplify. And that's what we did too, even in our home. I mean, just the little things that we're doing, and even like coming down to the food, like you said, like just ordering, we're going to order food from our favorite restaurant.
Nice.
Instead of, because honestly, one huge anxiety for me personally is going grocery shopping. Like it brings out the worst in me.
Especially right now.
Well, exactly. And I think it's, everybody, I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, even with all of these points that we're talking about, it takes actually taking some time to look at yourself and understand what your triggers are, right? With stress, whereas grocery shopping to me is almost therapy, because especially now I can't bring my kids.
How much time do we have?
And I love cooking, but like it's a trigger for you, right? So whereas it might be a stress relief for me, it is actually, so it's understanding what that is. For me, baking is a trigger. Like I don't follow directions well. Ask Mark.
Which I don't mind baking.
And so it's like Mark is actually baking the dessert for Christmas, and because it's a trigger for me. Like I hate baking. So, it's just being honest with ourselves of what those stress triggers are and really trying to scale back on them or delegate.
Yes. I can tell you that if you need somebody to try your baking, if that would relieve some stress for you, it would relieve stress for me. So
There you go. Double whammy.
Just saying.
Let's work together here.
Yes.
I like it. Well, and two, like the next one is going to be share your real wish list. And I think that's so important, because I think a lot of times, in forgetting about 2020 or anything in general, just a lot of times Christmas becomes that focus on gifts and how am I going to get all these gifts and what's the best gift to give? But truly it's what is your real wish list, And
Yes.
for some people, like in my family, I know the only people we buy gifts for is my niece and nephew. They're 5 and 3. And everybody else in the family, we share an experience, right? Like we're all going to get together. We're all going to, in Florida, sometimes we get to go swimming. This year,
Right.
it's going to be 36 degrees on Christmas.
It's our tradition. I'm getting in, period.
Oh my gosh. Is your
Florida
pool
polar
heated?
plunge. It is heated, but it's not heated right now. It's like 60 degrees.
So with that wish list, again, it could be experiences but talk a little bit about that and your guys' take on that.
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's hard to ask for help anyway. And obviously being a caregiver, I mean, it's a pretty tough job. And I just, just be honest with what you need, right? Do you need 3 or 4 hours of respite in the afternoon? Do you need someone to prepare maybe some frozen meals? Just don't be scared to ask. I think, especially for a caregiver, I mean, their wish list is probably just to have a little bit of free time, to maybe go get a massage,
right?
A little bit of time for themselves.
And you make a good point with the money piece. I mean, I think that a lot of things that caregivers do really need don't really cost money, right? I mean, it could be a family member coming and staying for 24 hours and staying overnight so that somebody actually has a 24-hour full night's sleep at a hotel or something along those lines.
Some normalcy.
So it doesn't have to be that you're putting money towards something, or, they've been really wanting their bathroom painted and it's putting a weekend in to really help them with some home repairs around the house, or like you mentioned, freezer meals. So it's really, again, as a caregiver, the toughest part is having a moment to look inward and really ask yourself, what do I need? But then actually saying it when you're asked, and not I don't need anything this year. It's like, your family wants to know, and it's just asking for what you need.
Yeah, and I think, and that leads into the final of the 4 tips, which is the communication.
Yeah.
And like you said, most, being in the senior living industry myself, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard from families like that they don't need anything, they're good, they're not ready to accept the help that they truly need. They're breaking their back, whether physically or just emotionally. So communication is key always, but especially during the holidays.
In everything.
Yeah. And not only asking for what you need, but just being honest with where you're at, and it not having to be just putting a face on of the smiling and nodding. But if you are struggling and if you are stressed, talking with family, and if you don't have any family, or there's dynamics that aren't allowing really a helpful back and forth,
right,
then reaching out to a support group, or even a therapist or something along those lines,
or Sunways,
or Sunways, right?
Yeah,
because that is
a lot of times that's our job.
Exactly, just to be able to have a non-judgmental, open conversation about what you're going through, and some ideas on ways to, at least in 2021, get you, more help, more respite, more resources that you need.
Obviously, if you're overwhelmed, overworked, stressed out, obviously that affects your work as a caregiver as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It does. And I actually want to read from your blog, and I'm going to share with people too how they can read this on your page. But I just want to read it because I think how you wrote it was so well, it really touches home. So it says, be honest about your energy level and bandwidth, which is so, like, I love words. I'm a wordsy person, but that really hits hard. And your friends and family want to support you, but can't if you aren't asking for help. Let go of the guilt and sadness that comes along with changes during this time, and try to focus on the love and joy that comes from knowing that you have the people around you that are there to support you. And I think it was so just short and sweet and well said. So I wanted to read that because it's really good information for caregivers that are listening to this right now.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we appreciate you and Seniors Blue Book always for getting this message out, right? Because that's something that, like you had mentioned, has been important to us from day one. And that is the caregiver. Who's caring for the caregiver, right? One of the reasons why we started Sunways is our own experience as a family with Mark's mom being thrust in the caregiver role with his grandmother. So that is where our heart is. And we know that it's a day in and day out job, and also doesn't just end when you get maybe some help with a caregiver coming into the house or with a loved one moving into a community. It's important to us that we're supporting our clients and our families in every step of the journey.
Well, we almost find ourselves shouting from the mountaintops, right? That we're here. There are resources available. There is help.
That is
like
free.
I said, even if it's a 15-minute phone call.
Yeah.
Just to let that family member / caregiver know that there are resources. You do have a support team.
Yeah.
100%. And I kind of went back a little bit from that article, but on here's the blog on sunwaysalc.com, and I'll obviously put this in the post along with your guys' contact information. But there are so many great caregiver articles here, or I should say blog, but articles in the blog. And even here's another one with 7 ways you can ease holiday stress for seniors with dementia or hearing impairment, which is another huge separate topic on top of what we've already talked about.
Yeah.
So this is a wealth of information for people that are tuning in that they can go to. So I will definitely make sure to share that. And awesome. I want to say thank you so much for spending time this morning with us here on Seniors Blue Book Live. Again, you guys do such a fantastic job of not only helping your clients, but really caring for those that are caring for them. So thanks for everything that you're doing, and for being a soundboard, air traffic control, whatever you want to call yourselves. 2020, you guys did it. You guys are doing amazing. And I'm just so happy to work with you as always.
Likewise, Brittany. Thank you so much. Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Yep. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good day.
Happy holidays.
And to all a good couple of days. It's almost here. We almost made it to Christmas. Woohoo!
We got it.
Stay safe. Stay sane. Don't drink too much eggnog.
Or do.
And we'll see you in 2021. Awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you soon.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.